Shalom again, everyone.
Shabbat
So the topic for
Shalom.
tonight, Shabbat Shalom. So the topic for tonight is Sukkoth revisited. 'Tis the season of rejoicing. So write your topic, get your books out, because you will be given an assignment on this along with your Hebrew assignment, as was discussed last week. So Sukkoth revisited. 'Tis the season of rejoicing. And disclaimer, that lovely picture you're seeing in the background there is a picture of my tribe at the 2025 Feast of Sukkoth. Well done, the tribe of Yahudah. Big up on yourself. Give me some taps and roses in the comment section. Power taps one at a time. Yes, thank you very much. All right. So we're looking back at Sukkoth. What is Sukkoth? So Sukkoth is the plural form for the Hebrew sukkah. So one sukkah, two Sukkoth. Or one sukkah, many Sukkoth. So sukkah is singular, Sukkoth is plural. It means booth, a cottage, covert, a pavilion, a tabernacle. It's a tent, a shelter, temporary shelters, or a canopy. And all of those basically serve the same purpose, which is to provide some form of shelter, right? A booth, a cottage, a covert, a pavilion, tent, tabernacle, canopy, shelter. All of them is something that you go into and you are sheltered from the elements or sheltered from something that's probably chasing you, right? Or no? Is it or is it not? Everybody is writing. All right. Ancient Hebrew lexicon comes from suk, which in the concrete is cover and in the abstract is a booth. The pictograph samek is a picture of a thorn. That is the first letter, which is this. The samek is a picture of a thorn representing protection. So the thorn is used to protect. You know, when Jamaicans we use bag wire on our fences, or when you're building a metal fence, you have the pointed metal on the top of it to prevent persons from coming inside your property or within the bounds of your property. So that's what the thorn represents, protection. So you have your animals, you put something around them, and you put thorn on it. So it keeps out the wolves and all of these. So the thorn represents protection. And the kaf is a picture of the palm of the hand representing a covering. Put the two together and you get protective covering. So a suk is a protective covering. And you add the letter He, which is life, a protective covering of life. I am adding that there, it's not on the slide. So the root word for sukkah is suk, which means a protective covering. And then you add the He, which gives you sukkah. And then you have a protective covering of life. So the watcher over the crops, the flock or herd would construct a covering or a booth as a shelter from the sun, wind, or rain. These coverings were often constructed on an elevated position and from materials readily available such as bushes, thorns, and small trees. So whatever you can find, you use it and you make your booth, your covering, your sukkah, your tent, your pavilion, your temporary shelter, your cottage, your canopy, whatever you want to call it. But said they're not seeing the slide. I am seeing the slide from my phone. Anybody else having that issue?
Not me.
Is there anyone who's unable to see their slide or to see this slide?
I'm not seeing it so far.
That is weird. I have two devices.
Let them log out and log in again. Log out and log in. Join back.
All right, so you guys can log out and log back in because everyone else seems to be able to see. I am using 4 devices in the house and all of them. I can see the slide on all of them. We give them some time to rejoin. You seen it now, David?
Yes, yes.
Great. And so we wait for Nicole to come back. So just some backstory. In a previous life, some 6-7 years ago, when we were keeping this festival in Christianity, we would have held it or kept it in hotel rooms. And our dear beloved leader would have studied the word and seen that there's something isn't right about it. And then would have made the transition to what we're doing now. Are you able to see it now, Nicole?
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay, lovely. So we can move on. All right. So when you look at the Hebrew word Sukkoth, it is used in 3 ways: in reference to a place, in reference to the physical structure as a booth, and in reference to the festival. And we're going to look at each. So we're going to start off with Sukkoth, the place. So you can put that heading in your book. Sukkoth, the place. Exodus 12:37, the children of Yisrael set out from Ramesses to Sukkoth, about 600,000 men on foot besides the little ones. So there's a place called Sukkoth. Joshua 13:27, in the valley Beth Haram and Beth Nimrah and Sukkoth and Safan, the rest of the reign or the kingdom of Sihon, king of Heshbon, the Jordan being its border as far as the edge of the sea, Kinnereth, beyond the Jordan eastward. So Sukkoth again, another place. And it's not only one place that had the name, Sukkoth. 1 Kings 7:46, the king had them cast in clay in the district of the Jordan between Sukkoth and Sarethan. And Psalm 60 verse 6, Elohim has spoken in his set apartness, I exalt, I portion out Shechem and measure out the valley of Sukkoth. Why did I put all of this in the presentation? It's because I found this verse, Psalm 60 verse 6, very important verse to the topic. Let us read it again. Elohim has spoken in his set apartness. I exalt, which means I lift up. I portion out. What does it mean by portion out? When you're portioning out a place, what does that mean?
You part it up, like to give it away.
Section, divide it.
So what you're going to do? Why you're parting it up? Why you're parting it up?
You're going to give it away.
To share
You're
it up.
giving it away. You are assigning it to somebody, right? So I portion out Shechem and I measure out the valley of Sukkoth. So Yahweh is giving some information here as it relates to this word. I remember I always tell you there are no coincidences in scripture. Cow no have no incidents. Cow they are bush and they am grass. Nothing no do cow. No coincidences in scripture. And we have to look at these words and every instance where they are used. Very strategic. So Yahweh is setting up land here and him say, listen, sought out Shechem, and I am measuring out the valley of Sukkoth. And if you know the territory that was promised to Abraham, it's not limited to just what you see on the maps today as Israel. It's the entire Middle East that was promised to Abraham and parts of Africa and parts of Asia as well, Turkey included. A massive, massive territory that was promised to Abraham. All right. So very important verse, Psalm 60, verse 6. So we see land being given, and Yahweh said, I measure out the valley of Sukkoth. Let us look at Sukkoth, the structure, the physical structure. And this is actually what the tabernacle in Yahshua would have looked like. Yahuwah's dwelling place. This was known as the courtyard. When you're reading and you hear it say the courtyard, is this. This is the altar with the horns, where the priest would go and make the sacrifices before the people. And then inside here now is where the excitement, only the priest can go inside this place here. And then to the back, you have the most holy place, which only the high priest can go. So the structure Sukkoth, Genesis 33, verse 17. Jacob set out to Sukkoth, so he set out to the place. Don't get it mixed up now. Jacob set out to the place Sukkoth. So he went to Sukkoth and he built. The Hebrew word for built is bana, which literally means to build or to construct. He built himself a house, and the Hebrew word here for house is bayit. A bayit. So he built for himself a house, and he made booths. He made Sukkoth for his livestock. That is why the name of the place is called Sukkoth. So you start to realize now that the Sukkoth was made for the livestock, the sheep, the goats, the cows. They got the Sukkoth. And to the amount or to the volume of livestock that he had, when you look at the place, all you could see was just Sukkoth. And so them just call the place Sukkoth. And so you know, so them people are Jamaican. Jamaica have one place where you have one standpipe and then call the place standpipe. You have one place with one big tree, or the name Big Tree, or Big Tree Lane. Nothing no change. The same people. So because a lot of Sukkoth were made for Jacob's wealthy stock of livestock, or his wealthy inventory, a man just look at the place and say, boy, I must Sukkoth this a place a name, because Sukkoth. So based on what we are seeing here, one purpose for a Sukkoth is for the keeping or for the housing of livestock. Psalm 10 verse 9. He lies in wait in a secret place as a lion in his den. So the den here is a suk. So a lion, wherever the lion goes to hide or goes to rest or seeks refuge from the sun, from the elements, when he's tired and him decides, I'm done hunting, and he retires, the lion's home is called a suk. So we've seen two scriptures already saying that this is the home for animals. He lies in wait to catch the poor. He catches the poor, drawing him into his net. Jeremiah 25:38. Like a lion, he shall leave his hiding place. And the hiding place there is the suk. And I want you to pay attention to the wording. So Genesis, the Sukkoth is for livestock. Psalm 10, the Sukkoth is for a lion. It's a place where the lion retires after he finishes hunt. Jeremiah 25:38, it's a hiding place. It's a place of refuge. Very important information. 2 Samuel 11, verse 11. And Uriah said to David, watch this now, all of us know this story. David took the man's wife, had relations with her. She became pregnant. David was trying to pass off a jacket and the man trying to send the man into his wife. So whenever the baby is born, the man will think that it is his child. So David said to Uriah, the ark, Uriah said to David, so David was trying to get him to go home to his wife, and he said, no, master, I can't go home to her, because the ark and Yisrael and Yehuda are dwelling in booths, in Sukkoth. And my master Joab and the servants of my master are encamped in the open fields. And should I go to my house to eat and to drink, and to lie with my wife? As you live and as your soul lives, let me not do this. So let me break it down for you now. The reason why Yisrael, Yehuda were dwelling in booths and the ark is because whenever you go to war, you have to camp. You leave your permanent home, your permanent structure, and you go to the battlefield or near to the battlefield, and you have to camp because you don't go to war for one day and come back. You are at war for months, sometimes even years. And so these men need places to sleep. And so they have to construct booths, Sukkoth, for the soldiers to sleep when night comes. They can't just sleep out in the open. And so they build Sukkoth, and the ark dwells also in Sukkoth because Israel does not go to war without the Ark of the Covenant. And usually whenever they do, they lose. So whenever they're going to war, the ark goes with them and the ark stays in a Sukkoth. Everybody understands that before we move on? Taps and roses, no?
Repeat, please. Yeah.
Who asked for repeat?
I.
All right. Just a second, Samuel, or everything.
Just to Samuel.
All right. So whenever soldiers go to war, they leave their permanent home, which would have been in Israel, or in, let us say, Jerusalem. Let us say the army was in Jerusalem. Man come from all about to go war, all over Israel. And let us say they're going down to Philistine to war, Philistia. They would have to leave Israel, and while traveling to Philistia, when night come, you don't travel by night. And so you camp. So the camping even start before you get to the place for battle. And when you're camping, you have to set up a temporary structure. That would be the Sukkoth. So Uriah was saying to David here, the men are at war and they are dwelling in booths. How can I go and be comfortable in my permanent house to eat and drink when all of the other men are out there putting their life at risk? There's no comfort for them. They are dwelling in booths. The ark is dwelling in booths. The men are dwelling in booths because they are in temporary structures. They are at war. They left their permanent home. And the ark also goes with Israel whenever they go into battle. Because if the ark is not there, it means that Yahuwah is not there with them, because the ark of the covenant represents the presence of Yahuwah. So they usually take the ark of the covenant with them when they are going to battle. And the ark does not stay out in the open. It has to stay within a structure, and that structure is a Sukkoth, a booth. Understand now?
Yes, yes.
All right. So it's a temporary dwelling. 2 Samuel 22. This is now speaking of our Creator. Watch it carefully. And he rode upon a cherub. What is a cherub?
An angel.
An angel. Very good. Very good. So one cherub, two cherubim. One cherub, many cherubim, or cherubim. So he rode upon a cherub. So you realize that the angels, Yahweh even used them as horses. And that's why I tell you, and we're not going to deviate from the topic, but I keep telling you that we don't understand how this thing here work. All of these things are spirits, and they don't have the form that we think they have. So Yahweh rides up on a cherub, so he used it as a horse, and flew, and was seen upon the wings of the wind. And he put darkness around him. Watch this now. So he put darkness around him as boots, darkness of waters, thick clouds. So this is another verse that you can use to prove that Yahweh dwells in water. Because Genesis said there's water above us and water beneath us. Not as thing as such as space. But anyways. So he put darkness around him as boot. What is the important information we're getting here? The Sukkoth surrounds you. When you go inside the Sukkoth, doesn't it surround you?
Yeah.
Okay, and that is what Yahuwah does with darkness. Him have darkness all around him, darkness of waters, the deep, the Tehom that we looked at a few weeks ago. So he dwells in the darkness, he dwells in the deep, and it surrounds him like a Sukkoth. Psalm 27, verse 4 and 5. One matter I asked of Yahuwah, this I seek, to dwell in the house of Yahuwah all the days of my life, to see the pleasantness of Yahuwah and to inquire in his temple. Hekal is temple, write it in your book. Whenever you're reading and you say Hekal, temple. For in the day of evil, very important information now, in the day of evil, he hides me. Where does he hide me? In his suk, in his sukkah, in a Sukkoth, in his booth, in the covering of his tent, he hides me on a rock, he raises me up. So you start to realize that the Sukkoth is a place of refuge, it's a place of protection, just as we saw when we were breaking down the letters of the word, a protective covering of life. And we're seeing that in all of these scriptures. So a man might read Genesis 33, verse 17, where it says that Jacob built a bayit for himself, a house for himself, but he made Sukkoth for his livestock and say, but it's just a little thing him, I don't want to use that word, but it's a little thing him fling up quick and fast just to put animals in, nothing special. No. These people are what you call, this was an agrarian society. These men were farmer by trade. This is their livelihood. This is how they amassed their wealth. And just as how a man who deals in cars will build a proper structure to house his cars, is the very same how a man who deals in animal will build a proper structure to protect and to secure his livelihood, which would be the animals. So I don't want you to think of Sukkoth as something where you just fling up quick and fast and it's nothing special. It's a very special thing because it is a protective covering. It is a place of refuge. It's somewhere that you actually run to when trouble takes you. See, David said here, in the day of evil, he hides me. Who hides me? Yahuwah hides me in his pavilion, in his booth, in the covering of his tent. Psalm 76. In Yahudah Elohim is known, his name is great in Yasharah, and his booth is in Salem. His tabernacle, his Sukkoth is in Jerusalem, and his dwelling place in Zion. So if the Creator himself dwells in a Sukkoth, who are we to not want to dwell in Sukkoth? There, he broke the arrows of the bow. Watch it now. So you see, for those who don't want to go into tents, you won't get this protection because it's there from his booth. He broke the arrows of the bow, the shield and the sword, and the battle axe. So you're getting war language here in a bridging. Miriam, you seeing this? So there he broke the arrows of the bow, the shield and the sword, and the battle axe. Very important. So the Sukkoth, our festival isn't a normal festival. And we're going to pull out some proper meaning between this week and next week to ensure that you're writing properly so you can connect the dots when we get there. So the Sukkoth is a place of protection. I can't stress it enough. It's not an ordinary thing. When you are in it, you have full protection from your Creator. because that is where he commanded you to be. He himself dwells in one. So no matter if he doesn't feel secure to you, that is where his protection is. Understood? Tops and
Yeah.
roses. 1 Kings 20. Verse 12, 13, and 16. It came to be, when this word was heard, as he and the kings were drinking in the booths, drinking in the Sukkoth. So big excitement are going on. This is war again. Israel gone to war when Ahab was their king. Gone to war and they were dwelling in Sukkoth. Night come, the man them decided, listen, we need to have a little stress release. You know, when a group of men are at a place, you're going to have a vibes. And so they decided that they were going to drink. The men were drinking in the Sukkoth. King and everybody in the Sukkoth. That he said to his servants, set yourselves. So they set themselves against the city. So you see, it's war. And see, a prophet came near to Ahab, king of Yisrael, saying, thus said Yahuwah, have you seen all this great army? See, I am giving it into your hand today, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. So Yisrael were dwelling in booths because they went to war, and because they are in the booth, and I see this right through the scripture. I'm not making this up, brethren. It's a trend that I see, and once you're seeing a trend in scripture, then it means that something is happening. So whenever they go to war, they have booths, and they are victorious. So Yahuwah is there because they are in booths. It is the protective covering. And he said, I am going to give them into your hand. Verse 16, and they went out at noon, while Ben-Hadad and the 32 kings helping him were getting drunk in the booths. So the Sukkoth is a place of rejoicing, brethren. You know, ball in a Sukkoth. You enjoy yourself. It's a place of rejoicing. You drink, you be merry, you eat. It's a nice place to be. Isaiah 1 verse 8. The daughter of Zion is left as a Sukkoth in a vineyard, as a hut in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. What does it mean that she's left as a booth in a vineyard? When you put a Sukkoth in a vineyard, brethren, and you don't tend that vineyard, soon and very soon you won't can see the booth. Because a vineyard, as the name suggests, is a vineyard and vines run. And when the vine take over everything, you're not going to see it. And that's why Yahweh is saying that Yisrael became, Zion is left as a booth in a vineyard, as a hut in a garden of cucumbers. And I found out recently that cucumbers, when they grow, they run. So it's the same thing, it cover it. Job 27:18. He built his house like a moth, like a booth which a watchman made. So again, we're seeing a watchman. What is a watchman's role?
As a protector.
Protector of what?
The sound alarm.
Sound alarm.
Danger.
Sound alarm of what? Danger. And we give them the alarm too. Protecting the nation.
I mean, when everybody else gone to sleep, I'm supposed to be watching.
Thank you. So the watchman's role is to watch the city and to ensure that there is no invasion. And if there is an impending invasion, then he's supposed to raise an alarm so that the city rises and be prepared for attack. And the watchman in watching, he has to make a booth because he can't watch from in yard, don't it?
Exactly.
You can't watch from your house. So wherever is the watch point, you have to create a booth. You have to create a protective covering for yourself at a good vantage point. And remember that in the definition of Sukkoth, we saw that it is usually on an elevated place. It is usually constructed on an elevated place. And now we're seeing that the watchman makes a booth. The watchman can't make the booth on the flat in a bridge. You have to make it somewhere high so you can stay far out to see if anybody's approaching the city. Understood?
Yep.
Isaiah 4, verse 4 to 6. When Yahuwah has washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion and rinsed away the blood of Jerusalem, so when Yahuwah has washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion and rinsed away the blood of Jerusalem from her midst by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. So this sounds like redemption, right? Because if Yahweh is doing all of these things, it sounds like things are going to go on for Israel now, don't it?
Mm-hmm.
Sound like some rejoicing can start take place, right? No?
Say it again.
So when Yahweh has washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion and rinsed away the blood of Jerusalem from her midst by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning, then Yahweh shall create above every dwelling place. So after him clean her up, burn out who for burn out, dash who for dash way, runway who for runway, take in who for take in, fix up the place nice and neat. Then he goes now and creates above every dwelling place, above every house of Mount Zion, and above her gatherings, a cloud and a smoke by day, and shining of a flaming fire by night. This language sound familiar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Cloud by day
yes.
and fire by night.
Yeah.
The Israelites going through Egypt,
Yeah.
coming out of Egypt and wandering through the wilderness, right?
Yes, yes.
Same language. Follow me carefully now. For over all the esteem shall be a covering, and a booth for a shade in the daytime from the heat, for a place of refuge, and for a shelter from storm and rain. So this is what Yahuwah creates after him clean up everything. And this is the exact same thing that took place after Israel came out of Egypt
Mm-hmm.
and were in the wilderness wandering.
Mm-hmm.
Yahuwah made them dwell in booths, and he protected them by a cloud of smoke by day and a pillar of fire by night. The exact same thing going to happen again according to prophet Isaiah.
Mm-hmm.
Job 36. See, Elohim is great beyond our understanding, and we do not know the number of his years. Also, who understands the spreading of clouds, the crashing from his booth? Again, so Job understands that Yahuwah dwells in the water. And as we read earlier, the water surrounds him. And because the water surrounds him, the water becomes his booth. Because the water is his booth, Job is now saying that the spreading of clouds, because we get rain from clouds, comes from his booth.
From his dwelling place.
From his dwelling place. Psalm 31. How great is your goodness, which you have laid up for those fearing you. So the goodness is laid up, it's stored up for those fearing him, which you have prepared for those taking refuge in you. And what did you read earlier? How you take refuge? Where you go to when you want refuge?
Boot, sook.
Boot. Very good. Verse 20, in the secrecy of your presence you shall hide them from the plots of man. You shall shelter them in a booth from the strife of tongues. So if you're afraid of Mumalashi, go in your Sukkoth. If you're afraid of liar and wicked and thief, go into your Sukkoth. Find the Sukkoth. It's a very good place to be. Jonah 4 verse 5. Then Jonah went out of the city, sat on the east side of the city, and made himself a Sukkoth there, and sat under it in the shade to see what would become of the city. So Jonah wanted to see the city. I go mash up Jonah, build himself a nice little Sukkoth. So Israel, the Hebrews are people who are very familiar with Sukkoth.
Yeah. Build himself like a shelter.
Yes, man.
Yes, yes.
Look at this one now. Matthew 17 verse 4. I give you some backstory. So Yahusha went up to a mountain with two of his disciples, I think. I think it was Peter and I don't remember who else. But yeah, he went up to the mountain And Moses and Elijah came. Moses and Elijah came, Peter saw what was happening, and Peter said in verse 4 of Matthew 17, Yahusha, Master. Because you know, Peter is one of them who is very excited. He was like a very, very impressionable. He was like a child, always ready to speak. Peter said, Master, it is good for us to be here. This is good company. Moses and Elijah, if you wish, just say the word, Master, and I will make here 3 booths, 3 Sukkoth, 1 for you, 1 for Moses, and 1 for Elijah. Peter said, me not even want unto myself. Me can go back on my yard. But the 3 on the need Sukkoth. So it was normal culture in Yisrael for the Hebrews to dwell in Sukkoth, brethren. Maccabees, 3rd Maccabees 6, 30 to 33. The king then departed to the city, called his financier to him, and bade him provide a 7 days quantity of wine and other materials for feasting for the Jews. Yahudim is Jews. He decided that they should keep a gladsome feast of deliverance in the very place in which they expected to meet with their destruction. So they were delivered from destruction, and so they decided that they were going to keep a feast. Then they who were before despised and near unto death, Sheol, death, the grave, yea, rather advanced into it, partook of the cup of deliverance. Yeshua is deliverance. Instead of a grievous and lamentable death, full of exaltation, they parted out the place intended for their fall and burial into banqueting booths. So the same place where the people them dig and say, are you burying ground this? The people them cover the hole and build then Sukkoth at the very same spot, and go in there, go enjoy themselves, drink and eat and merry. Seizing their miserable strain of woe, they took up the subject of their fatherland, hymning in praise, that singing in praise, Elohim, their wonder-working Savior. All groans, all wailing were laid aside, and they formed the dances in token of serene joy. So also the king collected a number of guests from the occasion and returned unceasing thanks with much magnificence for the unexpected deliverance afforded him. So the people were rejoicing. You're not going to Sukkoth with your bawling, brethren. Sukkoth is not a place for crying. Sukkoth is a place where you're going, you know that everything is all right. So now we can look at the festival, the appointed time. Leviticus 23. And for those who are not familiar, Leviticus 23 is one of our staple chapters as Hebrews. You read from
Go back
verse
for a
1.
second.
Pardon?
You can go back for a second.
So Leviticus 23 is one of our staple chapters. It's a chapter that we often, very, very often have to go back to refresh our memory and to provide guidance as to our holy days. It contains all the holy days that we are commanded to keep. Leviticus 23, Numbers 28, Numbers 29, Deuteronomy 16, Exodus 23, Exodus 34, Numbers 9, Exodus 12. These are all verses, chapters that we often have to go back to for reference in relation to our holy days. If you read from verse 1, you get a complete listing all the way to the last verse as to all the days that we are expected to keep forever, as long as Israel exists on the face of this earth, and as long as you call on the name of Yahuwah, you are supposed to keep these days. But we are focused on Sukkoth, so we pick up in verse 33. Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Yisrael, saying, on the 15th day of the 7th new moon, the 7th renewal, is the festival of Sukkoth for 7 days. So this is a 7-day appointment, a 7-day celebration on the 15th day of the 7th month. And this is not July, because we do not work with the Roman calendar. We work with Yahuwah's calendar. So this usually falls in and around September, October, or November. This year we are going to be in late October going over into November. Next year, sorry, which is 2026. And we soon do a presentation showing how we arrive at our dates. So no worries there. So again, it is usually around the time of September, October, or November. Very rarely November, but it can happen. This is also the time where I personally believe that Yahusha was born, but don't quote me on that because that is my personal stance. So yeah. So speak to the children of Yisrael, saying, on the 15th day of the 7th new moon is a festival of Sukkoth for 7 days to Yahuwah. 7 days. On the first day is a set-apart gathering, that is the 15th. You do no servile work, so that is when we have the full moon. For 7 days you bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah, and on the 8th day you must have a set-apart gathering. Or 8th day come in and him just tell you 7 up there, so don't worry yourself. On the 8th day a set-apart gathering for you, and you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. It is a solemn assembly. You do no servile work. So on the first day of the feast, set-apart gathering. On the 8th day, set-apart gathering. But Sukkoth is 7 days. The 8th day is another appointed time that is attached to Sukkoth. You soon get the clear understanding. Don't worry yourself. So Sukkoth is 7 days, and then the day after the 7 days, the 8th day assembly. Shemini Atzeret. On the 15th day of the 7th new moon, when you gather in the fruit of the land, celebrate the festival of Yahuwah for 7 days. On the first day is a rest, the 8th day is a rest. And you shall take for yourselves, watch this now. On the first day, you take for yourself the fruit of good trees, branches of palm trees, twigs of leafy trees, and willows of the stream, and shall rejoice before Yahuwah your Elohim for 7 days. So you use these to make your Sukkoth. We continue in the same Leviticus 23:41. You shall celebrate it as a festival to Yahuwah for 7 days in the year. It is a law forever in your generations. So the same prescription for the Sabbath, which says that it is a law forever, is the same prescription for the other appointed times. But the churches of God and the Adventists and the this and the that and the 7 days, they choose what they want to celebrate and park what they do not want to celebrate. And we don't have the luxury of picking and choosing the laws that we want to keep. Anyways, it says to dwell in booths for 7 days. Dwell in booths for 7 days. So it means that by the 8th day, you should be out of booth. Dwell in booths for 7 days. All who are native born in Yisrael must dwell in booths. As long as you're native born in Yisrael, you dwell in booths. Don't worry yourself. If you're not native born, the Torah tells us how you can become native born. Circumcised. Luckily for a lot of us, we don't have to worry. We are native born. We are blood Yisrael, although we still need to circumcise, but that's an argument for another day. Verse 43, look at the reason now. One of the reasons for Sukkoth, we can't go around this. You dwell in booths for 7 days so that your generations know that I made the children of Yisrael dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahuwah your Elohim. So I'm going to sign it, I'm going to send it off, I'm done chat. Dwell in booths because I need your generations to know. That is why we dwell in booths, so that we understand that our forefathers, when they were taken out of Babylon, they were brought to a place and they dwell in booths, and Yahuwah protected them from every single adversary, from every single snare, from every single trap, from every single element, rain, sun, hail, snow, lion, cheetah, bear, dog, rat, army, Satan, snake, Every single thing I protected you. Yahweh even went as far as to say you wandered in this wilderness for 40 years and not even the sandals on your feet was worn. You're good like gold. When you dwell in boots, you are protected. This is why you dwell in boots for all generations to come. When I remove you from Babylon, from bondage, from Egypt, you are going to dwell in boots. So what we are doing now is a rehearsal of what is to come in the future, because we already know, we already confirmed from feast this year that there will be a second Exodus. Everybody get that?
Yeah.
Ezra 3 verse 4. And I just put these there so that persons can see that this was a recurring thing throughout the scripture. So you see it in Leviticus 23, it continues. Ezra 3, 4. They perform the festival of Sukkoth as it is written, and the daily offerings by number according to the right ruling for each day. And this is after they came back from exile. They found it written in the book, and they said, we're going to keep it. So whenever you come across the law, brethren, you have no excuse. And for those who are going to say that you can't keep it outside of Jerusalem, I have news for you. You wait. John 7 verse 2. The festival of the Jews was near. The festival of Sukkoth, that is New Testament. It is my belief that when Mary and Joseph went to Jerusalem and they couldn't find anywhere to book in any inn, it was because it was tabernacles and everybody had to go up to Jerusalem for that time of the year. And that's why Caesar called for a census at that time, because he knew that everybody would have to go up anyways. So he called for the census in and around that time. Deuteronomy 16. Perform the festival of Sukkoth for 7 days, and you are going to do it after the ingathering from your threshing floor and from your wine press. You notice it says after the ingathering, because the Feast of Sukkoth is also known as the Feast of Ingathering. Write it in your book. It is also known as the Festival of Ingathering. Why is it the Festival of Ingathering? Because this is when Yisrael gathers in the fruit of their labor. It is one of the reaping or the harvesting seasons in Yisrael. Why is that important? Because when Yahuwah returns, Yahuwah will return on the day of trumpet, Yom Teruah. What comes after Teruah? Atonement. What comes after atonement? Tabernacles. Atonement is the removal of sin. What is tabernacles? The ingathering. Ingathering of what? Ingathering of his people. He brings his people back to the place where they should be, which is Jerusalem. That is ingathering. So Yahuwah brings his people back. Ingathering.
Hallelujah.
So you shall rejoice in your festival. And all of this that I'm telling you, I don't pull it out of thin air. You're going to see it next week when we're looking at it. You shall rejoice in your festival. So you start to see a recurring theme with rejoicing, as I said earlier. Yahweh literally is commanding you to rejoice. Like literally. Me no want nobody stress out. And he goes at length to ensure that everybody is well provided for. We're going to see. You shall rejoice in your festival, you and your son, and your daughter, and your male servant, and your feet. Everybody fear rejoice. Nobody walk out to servant. The servant should be rejoicing. The Levite must rejoice. The stranger, the fatherless, the widow, every jack man, jack dog, jack puss from him within your gates, he must be rejoicing during these 7 days. There should only be rejoicing. And this is why I give so much praise to our leader, because when we were keeping feast in hotels, after we found the money or borrowed the money to pay for the hotel, we dead for hungry afterwards. And there was really no rejoicing at those festivals. And ever since we went into tents, we can proudly say that we are now rejoicing because we eat and eat enough and eat until we don't even want any more to eat. Right?
Right.
Taps and roses, everybody, so that Javinia and David and all of these people, new people can know that
Right,
ourselves
right,
of the truth.
right.
Right, Nicole?
Yes.
Because you
Yes.
experienced it already. And Akasia?
Yes,
Yes,
right.
yes, yes.
Very good. So if you not eat for the past, how much days we gone out of the year? Come to Sukkoth and you shall eat. Anyways, for 7 days you shall celebrate to Yahuwah your Elohim in the place which Yahuwah chooses. Because Yahuwah your Elohim does bless you in all your increase and in all the work of your hands, and you shall only be rejoicing. So you see the people them who go to feast and don't rejoice, you are sinning.
Exactly.
3 times a year, watch it now. So it's not only Sukkot, we're just looking at Sukkot tonight. 3 times a year, all your males must appear before Yahuwah your Elohim in the place which he chooses. So it never said Jerusalem, it said the place which he chooses. When Yahshua became a nation and they got the land, then we know that he chose Jerusalem. So 3 times in the year, all your males must appear before Yahuwah your Elohim in the place which he chooses. First time is at the festival of Matzot, also known as unleavened bread. That's when we don't eat anything that contains leaven or yeast or any raising agent. I will give you more information on that for our new people. The second time is at the festival of Shavuot. So Matzot comes from Matzah. Matzah means unleavened. Matzot is the plural for Matzah. And then the second one is Shavuot. Shavuot comes from Shabua. Shabua means week. Shavuot means week. Weeks. And that is W-E-E-K-S. Like literally 7 days. And for that one, you have to count 7 weeks, 7 Sabbaths. And then the last time for the year you appear before Yahuwah is at the festival of Sukkoth. So all your males must appear. And persons read this and say, then his man alone must go. No. Everybody goes. The reason why I say all your males is that based on the law, certain females, based on the situation that they would have been in, they wouldn't be able to travel. So let us say that the woman is far ahead in her pregnancy or just gave birth. She can't travel, but the men must go. If the woman was on her cycle, she could not go up because, the temple and the unclean situation and all of these things. So that's why I say all your males. It doesn't mean that women and children did not go up. And we have countless examples in scripture that show that all the women and men and children who were able to go up, they went up. None should appear before Yahuwah empty-handed. Deuteronomy 31, Mashah commanded them, saying, at the end of 7 years, at the appointed time, during the year of release. So you have a year of release in Yahshua. When that year comes, at the festival of Sukkoth, in that year of release, when Sukkoth comes around, that 7th month, 15th day of the 7th month, when all Yahshua comes to appear before Yahuwah, your Elohim in the place which he chooses. You see, because everybody come now, and we use this to defunct the persons who said that only men go up. Deuteronomy 31. So because everybody going to come up now, Yahuwah said, listen what you're going to do. Every 7 years, at the feast of Sukkoth, when they come up to the place which Yahuwah chooses, you are going to read this Torah before all Israel in their hearing. So this is where we got, the leadership of this assembly got this thing here where we say we have to have Torah study at the feast. See it here, Deuteronomy 31, so you can write it down. So yes, Akasia, we have to have the Torah. It is very much so commanded. Assemble the people, the women, the men, and the little ones. Everybody. And your sojourner, because all the sojourner come with you too, who is within your gates. So let us say that Anthony is here visiting. Anthony come to my house He never knows the tabernacles time, Sukkoth time. And come to my house, he's in Jamaica staying at my house. I am going to the feast. As long as Anthony is staying at my house, Anthony must go to the feast with me. Or else Anthony have to leave my yard. I can't go to the feast and leave Anthony at my house. Everybody goes up. And they must hear the Torah. Why? So that they hear and so that they learn to fear Yahuwah, your Elohim, and they guard to do all the words of this Torah. This is the one time where you can catch everybody at one place. Teach them the law at this time. Second Chronicles 8, 12 and 13. Then Solomon, this is after Solomon built the temple, beautiful temple that Solomon constructed, blessing the temple. Now Solomon offered ascending offerings to Yahuwah on the altar of Yahuwah, which he had built before the porch, even as the duty of every day required, offering according to the command of Moses for the Sabbaths, for the new moons, for the appointed times, 3 times a year at the festival of Matzot, Shavuot, and Sukkoth. So we see Solomon do it, we see Ezra do it, we see it in Deuteronomy, we see it in Exodus. We're seeing it all over the place. We see it in Matthew. First Kings 8. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Yisrael and all the elders of the tribes, the heads of the tribes, the chief fathers of the children of Yisrael, to King Solomon in Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant to Yahuwah from the city of David, which is Zion. So then removing the ark from Zion, bringing it to Jerusalem, because the temple is now constructed, the ark can be removed and brought to the temple. And so all the men of Yisrael assembled to King Solomon at the festival in the month of Ethanim, which is the 7th month, 7th new moon, 7th renewal. So this took place at the festival, which is in the 7th month. Which festival? We only have one festival in the 7th month, my brothers and sisters. Which festival is that?
Sukkoth.
Sukkoth. The only festival in the 7th month. We have a festival in the 1st, in the 3rd, and in the 7th. In the 1st is Matzot, in the 3rd, Shavuot, and in the 7th, Sukkoth. 137. No more festivals. And Solomon at that time performed the festival, and all Yisrael with him, a great assembly from the entrance of Hamath to the Wadi of Egypt, all the way back. What if people that in a virgin? All the way back to the river of Egypt, before Yahuwah our Elohim. 7 days and 7 days, 14 days in total. And then on the 8th day, he sent the people away. Festival done now. So him start in excitement to inaugurate the temple before tabernacles began. So probably from the renewal, from the first day of the renewal, first day of the month, him doing first 7 days, or somewhere thereabout, however it want to go. And then he sent the people away. Probably started from the 7th day, and then from the 7th to the 14th is the first 7 day, and then from the 14th to the 21st is the next 7 days. First Maccabees 10:21. So in the 7th month of the 160th year, at the feast of Sukkoth, Jonathan put on the holy robe and gathered together forces and provided much armor. So again, we're seeing Sukkoth and we're seeing battle. These persons were living in the time of Greece, the Maccabean period. And they were still keeping the feast of Sukkoth, and they had to keep it even in wartime. And they were not in Israel. And they were keeping the feast of Sukkoth. They were exiled people. 2 Maccabees 10, verse 6 to 8. They kept the 8 days with gladness, as in the feast of Sukkoth, remembering that not long before they had held the feast of Sukkoth, when as they wandered in the mountains and dens like beasts. Therefore, they bore branches and fir boughs and palms also, and they sang psalms unto him that had given them good success in cleansing his place. They ordained also by a common statute and decreed that every year those days should be kept of the whole nation of the Jews. 8 days of gladness and enjoyment and excitement in the Maccabean period. Exodus 23. 3 times in the year you are to celebrate a festival to me. You must guard the festival of Matzot. 7 days you eat unleavened bread. So Matzot is another 7-day celebration. The first one is another 7 days of celebrating. As I commanded you at the time appointed in the renewal of Abib, in the first renewal. For in it you came out of Egypt. Do not appear before me empty-handed. And you must also keep the festival of the harvest, that is Shavuot, the first fruit of your labors which you have sown in the field, and the festival of the ingathering, that is Sukkoth, at the outgoing of the year. Outgoing of the year, some translation put the end of the year. That is incorrect. The Hebrew word is yatzah. We're going to look at that very soon in the near future. Not the outgoing of the year. It should be the turn of the year, because that's actually one of the time when the sun wheel up and go back through the same gate again. So it's at the outgoing of the year when you have gathered in the fruit of your labors from the field. Exodus 34. Perform the festival of Shavuot for yourself, of the first fruit of wheat harvest, and the festival of ingathering, that's Sukkoth, at the turn of the year. 3 times in the year, all your men are to appear before the Master Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yisrael, giving you all the commands. You can't say you never learn. You can't say you never say it's a serious thing. If it wasn't important, he would not have repeated it so many times. Why? He said 3 times in the year, all your men are to appear before me. Why? Because I dispossess nations before you. I remove nations from before you and give you their territory. That's what he's saying. And let no one covet your land when you go up to appear before Yahuwah your Elohim 3 times in the year. What is Yahuwah saying here? Come up 3 times a year. This is how you will ensure that I continue to dispossess these nations from before you and give you their territory. If you don't keep Sukkoth, if you don't keep Matzot, if you don't keep Shavuot, then I will not be with you. You have to come up to my booth for me to protect your booth. And he's saying, when you come up, nobody can go into your land that you leave behind to come up here and do anything to it, because I am protecting your land. Remember when we just started to keep feast, people used to call back home. What's happening down at the yard? Check in. People left them key with them neighbor. Ensure no thief, no break in. Now we reach to a point where we're leaving for feast. I just draw down the breaker, turn off the with the something name for the water, the lock off, and close the door. I'm gone about my business. And I don't call, I don't message, I don't care. And when I come back, everything is intact. I have never, 15 years celebrating feast now. 2005 we started. So 20 years up. Sorry, months off. We started 2005. In 2025, I celebrated Tabernacles 25 years. I never once come back and found anything missing from my home. And others can attest. Deuteronomy 14. You shall tithe. So we're going to show you now that Yahweh put provisions in place so that everybody is well taken care of at this festival, at these festivals, you see? Deuteronomy 14. You shall tithe without fail all the yield of your grain that the field brings forth year by year, every year. And this tithe is not a tithe that you come and give to me, because we don't collect tithes here. Priests get tithes and we don't have any priests, so we don't collect that. This is not a tithe for priests. Read it properly. So I'm not preaching any tithe sermon for nobody go send me a big money. You shall tithe without fail all the yield of your grain that the field brings forth year by year. You shall eat before Yahuwah. So you, same one who do the tithes, shall eat before Yahuwah your Elohim in the place where he chooses to make his name dwell. The tithe of your grain. So the tithes of your tithes are it's same when you go turn around and eat. Because tithes is not money. Tithes is food and livestock. The same livestock where you turn around and eat. The sheep, the herd, the goat, the cow. The grain, which is the barley, the wheat, the corn. Your wine, the grape. Your oil, the olives. So tithe of your grain, your new wine, your oil, of the firstling of your herds and your sheep, so that you learn to fear Yahuwah, your Elohim, always. But when the way is too long for you, so that you are not able to bring the tithe, so let us understand this thing here now. Yahweh is saying, because your tithes might be so much, and the tithes is not money where you just walk around with a bank card where you have your millions on it, where you just swipe your card and buy your bottle of NSA and go down to the feast side. No. Your tithes is goat, sheep, sacks and sacks of grain, bottles and bottles of wine and oil, and just what if a cow and goat to come behind you? Yahweh saying, if the feast is being held in Ocherius and you live in Spanish Town, it's problem for you to carry so much goat go down there. So here what you're going to do? Sell it from Spanish Town when the way is too long for you so that you are not able to bring the tithe, or when the place where Yahweh your Elohim chooses to put his name is too far from you, when Yahweh your Elohim is blessing you, then you shall give it in silver, sell it. And then you're going to take the money, carry the money to the feast site, take the silver in your hand, go to the place which he chooses, and you shall use the silver for whatever your soul desires. You know what your soul desire? Nyamins and drinkings. See it here? For cattle or sheep, for wine or strong drinks. So I know me say NSC Brethren, see the Yahweh said, for whatever your soul desires, and you shall eat there before Yahuwah your Elohim, and you shall rejoice, you and your household. So Anthony have to come with me because in there me are. Big excitement. Everybody following?
Yes.
So a man don't have him NSC in a brethren and have it mask off, you know. The NSC have to pop on the assembly, share up the NSC. And we're not drinking to drunk now, we're drinking to merry. So everybody is well taken care of because we have food and we have drink. And we're going to share to the less fortunate, the fatherless, the motherless, the widow, the stranger who is within our gates. So Anthony get NSC too. Everybody get NSC. Everybody get food. Everybody get goat. Everybody get cow. Everybody get chicken. Whatever it is that we're preparing. It's a wonderful time. And that's why we said, 'tis the season of rejoicing. I don't make up this thing, brethren. Zechariah
Hallelujah.
14. Zechariah 14 is another one of our staple passages in scripture because it is a direct tabernacles scripture. It points to the time when Yahuwah returns and sets up his government on earth. And that is exactly what Sukkoth points to. And we're going to look at it in greater detail next week. Zechariah 14, I'll just give you 2 verses from the chapter. Yahuwah shall be king over all the earth. In that day there shall be one Yahuwah, and his name shall be one. And it shall be that all who are left from all the nations, so America, England, Russia, China, Brazil, all of them, all who are left from all the nations which come up against Jerusalem, they shall go up from year to year. This is in the future when the kingdom set up, brethren. So if this is going to happen in the kingdom, then it means that this must be kept today. Is that fair? As man say, whatever fulfills, so you don't need to keep it. If we see that this thing is going to be held in the kingdom, it means that it not fulfilled, don't know? You must go up from year to year to bow yourself to the King, Yahuwah of hosts, and to celebrate the festival of Sukkoth. And this is in the millennium. And it shall be, verse 17, that if you don't go up to Jerusalem to bow yourself to the King, Yahuwah of hosts, on you there is to be no rain, curse. And if the clan of Egypt does not come up and enter in, then there is no rain, curse. On them is the plague with which Yahuwah plagued the nations who do not come up to celebrate the feast of Sukkoth. So if you don't go to Sukkoth to get the protective covering, then there will be a curse because you don't have the protective covering. You don't dwell in booths for the protective covering. This is the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations that do not come up to celebrate the festival of Sukkoth. Very, very important. Can't stress it enough. I don't know if somebody call me to come and rejoice. Call me out of my stress and my problem. Call me from work. Call me from the yard, the hot house. Call me from the bills. You know how my light bill come nice when me draw down the breaker? You know how the water bill come nice when me turn off the lock off? You know how the food bill nice when me go to Sukkoth? I me eat, and me don't pay no money every day. Me pay the one money and me eat. I me nice. I want to get to a point where we don't even pay because we raise our own food, grow our own food, and raise our own animal. What a grand time it promises to be. Why would I not want to go up to rejoice? Why would I not leave the stress and go up to rejoice and get that protective covering? So when I come back, I am okay. When I come back, I can get some rain. When I come back, I don't have any curse. Nehemiah 8. When the 7th new moon came, the children of Yisrael were in their cities, and all the people gathered together as one man in the open space that was in front of the water gate. And they spoke to Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the Torah of Moses, which Yahuwah had commanded Yisrael. So they're coming back again from exile, finding the Torah. Man, I read the Torah now. Verse 2. Ezra the priest brought the Torah before the assembly of both men and women, and all who could hear it understanding on the first day of the 7th month. Which day is this? First day of the 7th month, not 15. First. They brought the book on the first day of the 7th month. Which day is this?
July 1st.
Come again?
Said the first day of the 7th
The first day of the 7th month, is it Young Torah?
Yes. Yom Teruah.
Trumpets.
Trumpets.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. So this was on the day of trumpets, and we know that after trumpets is atonement, after atonement is tabernacles. All three of them fall in the 7th month. Don't worry yourself. New people are so one of these days we're going to go through all of them together. So you can understand. Because there are 3 feasts, but many appointed times. So all the feasts are appointed times, but not all the appointed times are feasts. There are only 3 feasts, 3 festivals, 3 big celebrations. Tabernacles, which is Sukkoth, Matzot, which is unleavened bread, and Shavuot, which is the Feast of Weeks, or as they call Pentecost. I hate the word Pentecost, but yeah.
Me too. Greek.
So when you hear us talking about Teruah, Yom Teruah, that's day of trumpets or day of blowing or day of alarm, day of acclamation. That is an appointed time, not a feast. An appointment that we have with Yahweh as well. It's found in Leviticus 23. So this day that they sent for the book of the Torah was Yom Teruah, the day of trumpets. And he read from it in the open space in front of the water gate from morning until midday. So, Akazia, the people who can't take the long reading, look what go on here, so. Before the men and women and those who could understand, and the ears of all the people listened to the book of the Torah. Everybody listening. And the Levites were silencing all the people, saying, hush! Because the people started to cry. When they heard the words of the Torah and they realized that they are not doing these things, the people started to cry. And look what the Levites said. Tabernacles, shh, hush, for the day is set apart. Do not be sad. So you don't be sad on a set apart day, brethren, only atonement alone. Atonement is the only day you can be sad. The only set apart day. All the others, you have to be excitement and rejoice. Anyways, on the second day, the heads of the fathers, houses of all the people, with the priests and Levites, were gathered to Ezra the scribe in order to study the words of the Torah. So the man them come back the second day and say, boss, continue the reading there. And they found written in the Torah, which Yahweh had commanded by Moses, that the children of Yisrael should dwell in booths in the festival of the 7th month. And the man said, wait, but that's 7th month, we know. Man said, but we have to keep this because it's just the 2nd day. And it's supposed to take place in the 15th day. So them say, read it fast, make we see how to do it, because we have to get this thing here done. And that they should announce and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, go to the mountain and bring olive branches, branches of oil trees, myrtle branches, palm branches, branches of leafy trees, to make booths or Sukkoth, as it is written. So the people went out and they brought them and made themselves Sukkoth, each one on the roof of his house. So anybody who did already have one house in Jerusalem, in build him Sukkoth on him house top. Some man build it in them courtyard. So if you have an apartment, you have to build it for your house top because you don't have no yard space. If you have what them call it now, a detached unit, a quad, you build a Sukkoth in your courtyard. Some people build it in the courtyard of the house of Elohim, which is the picture that we saw at the beginning of the presentation. So some people build it in the courtyard at the temple. You have to find a space to put on your tent, brethren. Somewhere you have to find a space. Because not everybody who were there lived in Jerusalem. They came up for the feast, they came up for the specific reason, but they didn't live there permanent. And in the open space of the water gate and in the open space of the gate of Ephraim, anywhere a man find a piece of empty land, a man drop him Sukkoth. And the entire assembly of those who had come back from the captivity made booths and sat. You see the sat here? You have to go into the Hebrew. The Hebrew word is yashab. They dwell, not sat. Translator put sat there. And they dwell in their Sukkoth. That's how we should have read. They yashab, they dwell in their Sukkoth. So when you say sat, it sounds like a man just go sit down in the day and say, all right, I sit down in my Sukkoth. I go in my house now. And him get up and go into it. No. You stay in the Sukkoth for the 7 days. You live in it for the 7 days. Because when Yisrael were dwelling in the wilderness, they had to live in it. For since the days of Joshua the son of Nun, until that day the children of Yisrael had not done so. And there was very great rejoicing. And day by day, from the first day until the last day, he read from the book of the Torah of Elohim, and they performed the festival 7 days. And on the 8th day, there was an assembly according to the right ruling. That is the end of the presentation. Sukkoth we visited. That is our season of rejoicing. Next week now, we are going to look at Sukkoth, the culmination of the greatest love story. And we're going to see the true significance of the festival. Aside from, because we know that we as a people are now at the point where all we need to know is that Yahweh said to do it, so we do it, so we don't really need another reason. But there are reasons to why Yahweh says to do things, and I am going to show you why we keep the feast of Sukkoth, other than the reasons that were shown today. So, again, Sukkoth, the protective covering. You want the protective covering, you have to build your Sukkoth, you have to go into your Sukkoth, because Yahuwah himself dwells in a Sukkoth. It's not a little ordinary structure that you just fling up and say, oh, well, no, it's actually a very important instrument, a very important feature of our culture as a nomadic people, as a people who are always on the move, a people growing to the promised land. And we know that we are on a journey to the promised land. And as such, we should be very, very familiar with Sukkoth. That is the end of the presentation for today. Questions, comments, concerns, loud outburst.
Yes, I have a couple. Well, I have a question in regard to Sukkoth. As you mentioned, it is the Israelites were nomadic at that time, and so it was customary for them to have the tent and so forth. But I came into the truth like from 2019 or they're about 2018. I'm still learning as all of us are, but some are more ahead of us than others. The Sukkoth, because when I see some people was keeping it, I didn't know, I didn't understand the full understanding of it, even though I read it, but your teaching kind of bring it out more in a radiant way. But what I'm asking is this: if you don't have a tent or a backyard, because in the inner city, high-rise building, concrete foundation, and all them something, how can you keep it the proper way? Because that is always my contention in these, as people have called it, modern age, which I don't see nothing modern about it. But how you keep it the proper way as how Yasser we're supposed to keep it, as how you outline it.
All right, so very good question. So it's very important for me to say that the fact that we are in Babylon, we are not in the land, it means that it goes without saying that it's a less than ideal situation. So it means then that it is near impossible for us to keep it how it is to be held. Not near impossible, it is actually impossible, because when you look at the offerings that should take place at the festival as well, those should take place at the temple. We don't have that luxury because we don't have a temple, we don't have a high priest, so we can't do those. So what we do the best with what we have. So in your situation where I guess you're saying that you find it challenging to put down a support, you need a spot. I would advise that you do what a number of persons in this assembly does, because we have a number of persons overseas. So the ideal thing would be for you to join us here in Jamaica, but that is not always possible. So there are a number of feast sites in America that you could get in contact with, and there are persons here on this forum currently who joins groups in America at the feast time. And so that would be my best advice to you, because it's something that you go up with like-minded people.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So, as I said, ideally we would want you here with us, but if that is not possible, then that would be the next best thing.
Well, yeah, as willing, I will be there.
Yeah, we would love that.
Yeah, I would love that too.
Yeah, you and I can speak off here, so we can make that happen.
Yes.
There's a statement. I just realized that. So from the day of Joshua all the way back to Nehemiah, no one during that period kept the feast in booths. So like David and Solomon and those persons
was not done according to Ezra.
Wow.
Because Ezra wrote the book of Nehemiah. So according to Ezra, it was not done that way. And that is an indictment on our forefathers. And it gives us proper insight into why Yahuwah keeps complaining. It sounds like complaining, and I can't find a better word, but why he keeps complaining that Yisrael turn away from his law. Just like your fathers, they turn away from it, they turn away from you. It's just the reality of what took place. Our forefathers are wanting. When you look at Kings, in the book of Kings, when I think it was Josiah indeed. Josiah found the book and realized that Passover should be kept and the feast of unleavened bread. Josiah kept the feast, and the writer of the book of Kings said, this feast was not kept in this way since the days of Joshua. So Israel is not the first person who said that.
And that was a long way from Joshua. A whole lot of years.
Long way. A whole heap of years, hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Many generations.
Yeah.
So it's a recurring theme with us as a people where we forget the law and we stop keeping it, and that's why we're always in problem with Yahuwah.
So
exactly.
Then the next question then I'm led to ask you. So if we keep it, because normally, as I said, the Israelites, they were nomadic people, so they were already dwelling in tents, right?
Yeah.
So that means how we kept the feast in tents. We should actually build it with boots and so, with palm trees and things.
Ideally, but here's the thing now. We're talking again, we're in Babylon. And we're talking about using a reference for people who had a land for themselves. So you can go cut down the tree, them and nobody know. You understand what I mean?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
when we rent a person's property, for example, New
Yeah.
Generation Camp where we go, we can't go and cut down so much trees to build booths. So we do the best that we can do. We buy tents and we decorate the tents with the leaves of the trees. And we have to go far down in the bush to go cut the leaves as well. And we try and get as much palm branches that we can get. So probably we can do more and make it look more like it. But as it is now with Babylon and we don't have a land for ourselves, that's the issue we have. But yes, you are indeed correct. It should be made from the trees itself. Was your question answered, Murphy?
Yeah, but I'm just thinking that it can be done if we serious about it still. Because see, as you said that the people that read the law, they had so much zeal that they say, you know what, let's go into the woods and get these branches and do this to please the Lord, you know. So I'm just saying, if it can be done if we really want to do it, man. That's what I'm thinking. But just by how you read it, it opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah. Yes, it's a very, and in all honesty, I never saw all of this before. I just had a note in my phone and I headed the note, Sukkoth needs to be revisited. Because we said that we're going to revisit all our appointed times. And the young lady, Javina, she asked me a question on Sunday. I was about to answer. And Ruach said, don't give an answer yet. Just look at it properly. And I came to look at it and all of this came. Go back on it today. And I realized that we have to go a bit deeper again. So we have to do next week again. So I never saw all of this before. I never saw all of this significance and protective covering and all the excitement and the war thing and all of that. You know that we as a people are always going at war because we are the special people. So there will always be nations coming after us. We are now in Babylon and the nations, every single nation in the world is against us. And so we need to find ourselves in alignment with this particular festival so that we can get that covered. Because we need that coverage. We really do.
Exactly. And as you pointed out earlier, once you obey Yah's laws, statutes, and commandments, He will look after everything else where we can't look after.
Yeah.
Like the analogy where you give, you leave your house on one of the feast days or appointed time, and you just do the necessary. Yeah, you lock your door, so and so. And you just leave it and you're gone. And you're so confident within yourself, knowing that Yah will do what you cannot do.
Yeah.
And that is so beautiful.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to stop the recording there and continue the discussion off air. We don't want it to go too long. Shalom, everyone on YouTube who will be watching at a later date.
Shabbat shalom, my brother. And may your richest blessing be upon you.